Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Entitled People. We got some more Reddit posts for you today, so be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into it, guys. Entitled mom thinks she can use the accessible parking because her child uses a stroller, complete with fainting when confronted by police. I'm a young female with POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. From the outside, I look just like any other woman around my age. However, this has caused many encounters with entitled people when I use accessible seats, bathrooms, parking spots, etc. I made this little alert badge that says, I have an invisible disability called POTS. But of course, an entitled mother wouldn't care. I was looking for parking at the grocery store, and I saw somebody pull into an accessible spot without putting up their placard. No problem, it happens. In fact, 2 out of 3 times it turns out they just forgot, and they are grateful that I reminded them. This entitled parent was that 1 out of 3. Excuse me, I said, parking in the accessible spot next to her. I think you forgot to put up your placard. Entitled mother glares at me while picking up her child. Her kid is about 3 years old. It's none of your business. Go away. I just don't want you to get a ticket, I said. The minimum fine in my area is $250. Pretty expensive for that entitled mom to get a spot that's a bit closer to the door. I still don't suspect anything. Well, do you have a placard? You look perfectly healthy, said the mom. Not this again. In the last story I posted here, an entitled mom told me I didn't look disabled when I used the accessible bathroom. So I resort to my usual response. Not everyone has a visible disability. I motion towards my alert badge. Entitled mom doesn't listen. How do I know that's not your grandma's permit? Young kids like you think you're so privileged and entitled to everything. Yes, I am so privileged to have expensive hospital bills, a heart rate of 130 plus every time I stand up, failure of my autonomic nervous system, and get judged by entitled people who think they are the handicap police. One of the store employees comes over after hearing the commotion and gets a police officer. Entitled mother panics and tries to run inside the store. Excuse me, do you have a handicap permit? The police asks the entitled mom. Entitled mom says, well, no, but, I have a child who uses a stroller. Then she glances at my alert badge and quickly says, wait, actually I have a disability, but I just forgot my placard. She proceeds to slowly fall backwards onto her knees, then hips, then back with her hand over her forehead. Then she immediately stands up and says, see, I have POTS. I just fainted. I'm silently laughing at this point because 1, fainting doesn't look like that, and 2, standing up that quickly would probably cause a person with POTS to pass out again. By the way, POTS isn't just about fainting when you stand up for too long. Less than half of people with it faint regularly. I've only fainted a few times since I was diagnosed. The police officer quickly writes a ticket for her and entitled mom leaves. Now I'm hoping her child won't grow up to be like her. Yeah, the entitled mom totally knew she was screwed the second she talked to the officer. So that's why she just fainted as a last resort. She knew she was already caught and there was nothing else she could do, so she was hoping she could get off on pity instead. But honestly, if she just said, you know what, sorry, that's my bad, then there's a good chance they would have just let her move her car without giving her a ticket. But we know exactly what kind of people we're dealing with here. Not really the most logical thinkers. Man was upset he had to wait 5 minutes for a valet, asked me to cancel his reservation, which I did. To say he didn't expect that was the least that happened. So I work the night audit shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. This is one of my favorite stories because the karmic justice was hilarious at the end. I deal with a batshit amount of problems because I work at a 4-star luxury hotel that is also in the middle of a downtown city and connected to a convention center. I literally deal with everyone, from the homeless to celebrities. This isn't my craziest story, but the funniest when it comes to instant karma. So most of my problems usually happen right at the beginning of my shift. It's when late check-ins start finishing up, but only with the drunk and the rowdy and the occasional late flight. This man was of the drunk and rowdy nature. He was middle-aged, looked like your typical Marvel fan from the shorts, the shirt, the beard, and the glasses. Reeked of neckbeard. We all know the type. I'm a nerd too, but the kind that showers and has friends and boundaries. I don't work alone, but was alone at the front desk. I'm a 26-year-old female. And he comes up to complain. He is checking in and stating the valet wasn't there, and he has been waiting 20 minutes. I call the valet and find out he has only been waiting 5, and assure him they are finishing up with a couple guests and will park his car. He would not let it go. He starts going on a rant. about my terrible customer service, how there has to be something I should do for him to make up for this, how completely unacceptable it was that he had to wait at all at a luxury hotel for the valet, and thought that was the whole point of us being luxury. Clearly, he hasn't been to a hotel in general, never mind a nice one. I told him I talked to the valet, and it's normal for people to have to wait for others who were there first. There was nothing I could do. It wasn't even an amount of time that I could fake being sympathetic for. He was clearly just being an ass. He then keeps demanding an explanation from me as to why he was waiting, now trying to tell me I am lying to him, and they were clearly sleeping or on break. He then tells me to just cancel his reservation. I said, okay, the valet was ready for you, but if this isn't what you wanted, I will go ahead and cancel. So I do, and hand him the printed cancellation. Still won't leave. Now he's standing at the front desk, staring me down, and repeatedly asking me why he had to wait for the valet, and to admit they were sleeping. I tell him he no longer has a reservation with us, and I will call the security to escort him out as he is no longer a guest. He says fine, so I call security and he still won't leave. Starts yelling at them that he won't leave unless we call the cops. Man literally asked us to call the cops on him. He then looked at me and was like, "You're not gonna win this, you know." Me not even knowing there was something to win here. So the cops get there. They come up to me just to ask what's going on, and feel bad because they know the dude is just being a dick. I tell him he literally told us to call the cops to make him leave. The cops go to deal with him. They tell him not only are we not reinstating his reservation, which I guess he was trying to get them to do, but he had to call an Uber home and had to abandon his car at the hotel because he was too drunk to drive. The cops literally made him call the Uber in front of them and get into it and watch him leave. So this dude clearly had some sort of power struggle thing going on, or rough shit at home. I don't know, and frankly don't care. He thought he could just pick on some random hotel worker, and instead got the biggest walk of shame I have seen, and also had to pay for an Uber, a cancellation fee, and God knows what else to get his car back. It was great. Entitled mother tried to kidnap me, then stole my wheelchair. When I was 9 years old, I had broken my right femur and a tibia in my left leg, with several bruises and an arm sling on my shoulder. All from an ATV accident my brother took me on, in which he flipped into a telephone pole. Anyway, fast forward about 2 months. I have full leg casts on both legs, one being bright orange and the other being black. I wanted to make the cast colors match Halloween themes, since I got my casts not a month prior, but was now just awkward in Thanksgiving and Christmas time. In school, I had to have somebody push me to my classes, and the teachers could handle me there. A nurse would come and get me if I needed to use the bathroom or whatever, and the teachers were all around super nice, and I'm so grateful to have them support me at that time. So one school day, sometime in late-ish November, the nurse was pushing me through the halls, after I had used the bathroom about 5 minutes after class had started, so the halls were empty. Midway to my class, the nurse had stopped pushing me. She got a message that a student upstairs was seizing again. The kid is alright now. He is actually a good friend of mine that just has episodes sometimes. And so she asked me to sit tight while she helped someone. Here I am, directly in front of the office waiting area where parents come to pick up kids. I basically just start counting the tiles on the floor or whatever, when in comes the beloved, entitled mom. She walks up to me and says, "Hi there, princess. What happened here? An accident?" Sort of surprised by her presence, I say, "Yeah, my brother wrecked the four-wheeler. Now I have some stories to tell if somebody asks about my scars." Entitled mother displaying a horrified look. "Oh my goodness, what kind of parents would allow that? Your parents are awful. I'm gonna take good care of you." Entitled mother then puts her hand on my good shoulder and I guess tries to calm me. I get very upset and very worried and I say, "No, they're good parents. I love them and they take care of me. Don't ever talk bad about my family." I was a very polite child, until someone talked smack about my parents. I would have none of it. Entitled mother clearly getting fed up after minutes of telling me of how awful of parents they are, and that she could do so much better. How about you just find out for yourself how good of a parent I am? I've always wanted a girl, and your parents clearly don't care if you don't come back. This bitch actually pulls up the wheelchair brakes and starts walking me down the ramp towards the door. All the while I'm yelling and hitting her hands. When I started yelling a lot, the lady got tired and just said, "Fine, if you're gonna be such a rude brat, I'll just give this to my son." She shoves me out of the wheelchair, my wheelchair, and rolls it back up the ramp as I sit there crying loudly about my legs. Eventually a teacher, let's call him Chill Teacher, came out of the room next to where I was dropped at and asked me what happened. I was bawling my eyes out and could barely get out a few sentences. "She took my chair," I said, and pointed up. Eventually, the Chill Teacher wheels me a school wheelchair and takes me up the ramp, and we see the entitled mom with my wheelchair folded up in the lobby. When she sees me, she gives me an evil stare, and I felt fear that I still go to therapy for. When the teacher confronts the entitled mom starts yelling at us. That little devil stole my son's wheelchair and rolled off with it. Not to mention, she broke my kid's arm. I'm going to sue this school and that little whore. Upon hearing this, the Chill Teacher laughs, but stays composed. 1. She is disabled and cannot walk. 2. Your son is nowhere to be seen. 3. That is her wheelchair that you have, and I'm going to have to demand you give it back. 4. I am calling the police. I know who you are. You're Kay's mother. Within seconds, the nurse walks up and asks what is going on, as she notices the entitled mother with my wheelchair, and the cool teacher quickly informs her and she checks my legs. And I mustered up the courage to say I'll be fine for now or something. Not entirely sure. Next, I remember that the nurse started calling 911 when the entitled mom got her kid and darted out of there with my wheelchair. When she ran by, the cool teacher grabbed the wheelchair, and in response, entitled mother whipped his head with her fist, and he stumbled and fell to his knees. By the time he balanced himself, she was already at the downstairs doors. My parents were quickly told about the situation, not long after police arrived at the school, and I was basically sent home early after some questioning from the really cool sheriff. Later that day, the entitled mother was arrested, and according to my parents, was charged with child abuse, resisting arrest, drug possession, disturbing the peace, assault, first and second, some against police, child blank, certainly can't say that on YouTube, and driving under the influence. All of this wasn't just a cause from the fiasco at the school, but after they had arrested her, I believe they saw drugs, and I guess went from there. I believe this was a bit much for someone, but she haunts my nightmares. She is the one evil witch that will forever stay in my mind, and I couldn't forgive somebody for doing this to a 9-year-old child. Edit. I eventually got my wheelchair back from the lady, and that we pressed charges, and she paid for a shiny iPhone for me with that money. Also, the cool teacher became my favorite teacher ever. He came to my elementary, middle, and high school graduations, and even helped me job shadow, apply for scholarships, and everything. He even taught me to play guitar. I just want to say that this cool teacher couldn't have been any more helpful and kind, and I am thankful. Don't ask if you don't want to know. My neighbor is a proper Christian lady and a huge busybody. She was my friend on Facebook and had been for years, because she is also the president of our HOA and shares info on her page, which I liked having access to. A couple of years ago, I was asked to moderate a relatively large Facebook group, so I changed my Facebook name from my legal name to first name middle name, Sally Joe, as opposed to Sally Joe Smith. Well, the proper Christian lady saw me at the park not too long after and asked why I changed my Facebook name. I didn't give her an answer. She asked me no less than 4 times over the following weeks, finally cornering me at the grocery store saying, "Well, are you ever going to tell me why you changed your Facebook name?" I had had enough, so I flatly said, "I joined a swingers group, and I've started meeting people on Facebook for no strings attached adult fun. I was concerned about someone learning my identity and stalking me, so I decided to remove my last name for security." She blushed a color I'd never seen before and just walked away. It was glorious, and a week later I noticed we were no longer Facebook friends. Anyway guys, that is it for today. Thanks for watching, I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like and also subscribe to the channel for more Reddit shenanigans. So I'm out of here, have an awesome day, and until next time.